Welcome geometry students to the homework help video, page 123, numbers 2 through 28 all. I hope that you're ready to work. Get your books open to this page, get your homework out, get your pencils out, calculators, notes, and let's get ready to get started, okay? Numbers 2 through 28 all. If you look at number 2 in your book, the definitions say match the diagram with the description of the angles. Now, what we have here would be two lines cut by a transversal. Here's your transversal going up and down. Now, notice these two angles are on the inside of the two lines. Okay, there's two angles here and two angles here. They're both on the inside. We call those interior, and they're also on the same side. What we've learned to call those, based on your notes from Friday, are consecutive interior angles. Or the book also called them same side interior angles. So either one of those two answers would be fine. And if you're looking in your book, that's letter C. We call these consecutive interior angles, or the book calls them same side interior angles. Notice they're on the interior, on the inside. Okay? They're between this line and this line on the inside, and they're on the same side of the transversal. Here's your transversal, and they're on the same side, so we call them consecutive. So interior, consecutive interior angles, or same side interior angles, letter C. Moving on to number 3. Now, notice these angles are on the inside of your two lines. Here's your two lines, and we have two angles here and two angles here. They're both on the inside. I would call these two angles out here on the outside, okay? So we know these two angles here, 3 and 4, are on the inside. We call them interior, and notice they're on opposite sides, okay? They're on alternating or opposite sides, so we call those two angles alternate. That means here's your transversal. They're on different sides of the transversal, so we call them alternate, and they're on the inside, so we call them interior, alternate interior angles, and that would be letter A in your book there. All right, now number 4. Notice we have this angle here is above this line. Notice this angle here is above this line, and they're both on the same side of the transversal. They're on the right side of the transversal. Whenever that happens, we call those angles corresponding angles. Corresponding angles, and that would be answer B in your book there. Okay? Guys, I really wish I could explain this better. It's just memorizing your notes and practicing, practicing, practicing. Okay? All right, numbers 5 through 8. The directions read, use the diagram shown below. Here's your diagram right here. It's not drawn perfectly, but it's definitely sufficient. The transversal is shown in blue. Now, I guess I could go ahead and change this transversal real quick, if that helps you guys, and put it in blue. And there we go. Transversal's in blue. Let's continue on. Number 5, name a pair of corresponding angles. Now, corresponding angles have to be something like this. Like 2 is above the line, and 6 is above the line, and they're both on the right of the transversal. So 2 and 6 would be corresponding angles. They come in pairs of 2. Look at 1. 1 is above the black line, 5 is above the black line, and they're both to the left of the transversal. They're on the same side of the transversal, so angles 1 and 5 are corresponding. 4 is below the black line, 8 is below the black line, and they're both on the same side of the transversal, the left side, so we could say angles 4 and 8 are corresponding angles. We could also say angle 3 is below the black line, angle 7 is below the black line, and they're both to the right of the transversal. They're on the same side, so angles 3 and 7 are also corresponding angles. You could have had any of those for your answer. Okay, let's take a look now at number 6. Number 6. Number 6, name a pair of alternate interior angles. Well, first of all, we have to go to the interior. That means between these two black lines. 4 and 3 are on the interior. 5 and 6 are on the interior. Now, notice also for number 6, it says alternate interior. That means you want them to be on opposite sides of the blue line, or opposite sides of the transversal. So 3 and 5 would be alternate interior angles, or you could put 4 and 6. 4 and 6 are also alternate interior angles. All right, let's take a look now at number 7. Number 7, name a pair of alternate exterior angles. Number 7, alternate exterior. Well, 1 and 2 and 8 and 7 are called exterior angles because they're above and below the black lines. We call them exterior. Alternate means they're on opposite sides of the blue line, or opposite sides of your transversal. So I could say 2 and 8 are alternate exterior angles, or I could say 1 and 7 are alternate exterior angles. Any of those, any one of those two answers would be fine. And then looking at now at number 8, name a pair of same side interior angles. Well, first of all, interior angles would be 3 and 4, 5 and 6. They're on the interior. Same side means they have to be on the same side of the blue line or the transversal. We also call those consecutive interior angles. Well, 3 and 6 are interior, and they're both on the right side. So we could definitely say 3 and 6 are same side interior angles, and then 4 and 5 are interior angles, and they're both on the left side of the transversal. So we call angles 4 and 5 same side interior angles, or consecutive interior angles. Any one of these two sets of answers would be sufficient. All right, let's take a look at number 9. The directions read in your book describe the relationship between 1 and 2. Well, notice this, please. First of all, angles 1 and 2 are both to the left of the blue transversal. Just pretend this is blue. I don't think I really want to go through and change all these. I guess I could. It only takes a second. Notice that angles 1 and 2 are to the left of your blue transversal, so they're on the same side, and they're both on the interior. So we would call angles 1 and 2, I'm not going to write, I'm just going to say it. We would call them same side interior angles, or you can call them consecutive interior angles. Okay? That's number 9. Number 10. Now, number 10, let me go ahead and quickly do my change here into blue. For number 10, notice what we have are angles 1 and 2 are both on the interior. Okay? Here's a black line. Here's a black line. And these angles, 2 there and 2 here, are both in between the two lines, so they're called interior. So we know they're interior angles. Now, notice they're not on the same side of the transversal. Angle 2 is on the left of the blue, or the bottom of the blue, and number 1's above it. So they're not on the same side, so we don't call them same side interior. We call them alternate. They're on different sides. Alternate interior angles. All right, let's take a look now at number 11. They've given us angles 1 and 2, and let's describe the relationship here. First of all, if it helps you to turn this thing around, feel free to do that. Every student is totally and completely different, as you understand. I don't think that's going to work. Yeah, I didn't think it would. Sorry about that. And let's go like this, just really quick. It'll take a second, and it might help some of you see it better. If you like to turn yours around so that the two lines are going this way, and here's your blue transversal, fine. When you turn that around, do you notice something? 1 is in between the two black lines, so 1 is on the interior. 2 is on the outside of the two black lines, so we call that an exterior. It's an exterior angle, excuse me. So I'm going to go and flip it back around. One's between the two black lines, that's interior. This one's on the exterior. So we know they're not interior angles, only one of them is. But we notice this. 1 is to the right of the black line, and the other one's to the right of the black line. Do you see that? And they're both on the same side of the transversal. We call those corresponding angles. Again, if it helps you to see it, sorry about that. If it helps you to see it by turning it, feel free to take your book and turn it, and that might help you. Feel free to do that. This angle here is below the black line. This angle here is below the black line. They're both on the same side of the transversal. We call those corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. All right, let's take a look now at numbers 12 through 15. 12 through 15. There's a lot of answers to give, guys. Oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin. This is really not a well-written problem at all, numbers 12 through 15. I'm not sure what the author was thinking of this book. Number 12, name a pair of corresponding angles. The reason it's so difficult is you have all of these lines. I mean, my goodness. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's click on this, and let's just get rid of it real quick. There. Looking at these two lines here, they want examples of corresponding angles. Oh my goodness. I mean, it could be 1 and 4 are corresponding, 2 and 6 are corresponding. That would be just fine, okay? Now, let's get rid of this line here. You could say 4 and 8 are corresponding, 6 and 10 are corresponding, 3 and 5 are corresponding, or 3 and 7 are corresponding, 5 and 9 are corresponding. That would be totally fine. Or you could take this line away, crying out loud, And we could say angle 1 and 8, angles 1 and 8 are corresponding, or angles 2 and 10 are corresponding. I didn't write the problem, sorry guys, any of those would work, okay? All right, let's take a look at number 13. Name a pair of alternate interior angles. Let's get rid of this line first. Alternate interior. They have to be on the inside between the two black lines, and they have to be on the opposite sides of the transversal. So 5 and 8 are alternate interior, 6 and 7 are alternate interior. All right? Now let's get rid of this line here, if it helps you see it. Alternate interior, angle 2 and 7. Angles 2 and 7 are alternate interior. Angles 8 and, oh, there is no number here, so we really can't say that 8 has an alternate interior angle. So 2 and 7 are alternate interior angles. And then let's get rid of this line here. And alternate interior 2 and 3 would be alternate interior angles. 4 does not have an alternate interior angle written here, so that's the best we can do on that. Number 14, name a pair of alternate exterior. Well, let's keep doing our little trick. Let's get rid of this line here. Alternate exterior. So 3 and 10 would be alternate exterior. 4 and 9 would be alternate exterior. Now let's get rid of this line so we're not confused. 1 and 9 would be alternate exterior. 1 and 9. Okay? And now let's get rid of this line here so it's not confusing. Alternate exterior. 1 and 5 would be alternate exterior. 6 does not have an angle up here to go with it, so that's all that we have. Okay? All right, let's take a look now at number 14. Actually, sorry. Actually, it'd be number 15. Number 15, name a pair of same side interior angles. All right, let's get rid of this line here real quick. Same side interior. 6 and 8 are same side interior angles. 5 and 7 are same side interior angles. So there we go. Two and 8. I mean, you've got to look, guys, just pretend that these angles aren't even here. There's no line with them. Okay, just forget that. 2 and 8 are same side interior angles, and 7 does not have an angle here to go with it, so we're not going to worry about that. All right, then let's go ahead and get rid of this line here so it's not so confusing. Same side interior angles, 2 and 4 are same side interior angles, and 3 does not have one, of course, and I think that takes care of that. So we've looked at numbers. Let me real quick back up here. Okay, there we go. All right, numbers 12 through 15. And there might have been some other answers I missed, but the main idea is, did you get at least one of those written in? So hopefully that was a help to you. I hope I didn't confuse. I'm a little worried about that problem. All right, 16 through 21, the directions read, complete the statement using corresponding or alternate interior or alternate exterior or same side interior. So for number 16, we have angles 6 and 7. Number 16, angles 6 and 7. All right. Now, here's my two lines. Here's one line. Here's one line cut by a transversal. Do you see that right there? So 6 and 7 would be alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. They're on the inside of the two black lines, and they're on opposite side of the transversal. All right. Let's take a look now at number 17. Number 17 says to look at angles 1 and 6. Angles 1 and 6. Now, see how it's so hard. They're twisting this thing around, guys. Okay, so really be careful. Maybe this will help you see it. You can always turn your book around if you need to, if it will help you, okay? Angles 1 and 6. Maybe turn it this way. That might help you see it. I don't know. And here's why I did that. You've got this line here and this line here being cut by this transversal right here. So 1 and 6 are on the exterior, outside and outside, and they're on opposite sides of the transversal. So we would call angles 1 and 6 alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles. Again, I hope that helps. All right, we're looking now at numbers 18. Number 18. And we're looking at angles 2 and 4. Now, here's your line. And here's your line being cut by a transversal. Do you see it? So notice what we have here. Angle 2 is below this black line. Angle 4 is below the black line, and 2 and 4 are on the same side of the transversal. And when that happens, by definition, we call those corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. All right, let's take a look now at number 19. I'm not going fast because I'm impatient or tired of teaching you guys or whatever. I just know that there's really no explanation except just studying your definitions and practicing and practicing. Okay, now we're dealing with angles 2 and 6. So some of you might really appreciate my turning this. Others of you might not. I don't know, but if it helps you, then go ahead and turn your book. Here's angle 2, and here's angle 6. We have this line here and this line here being cut by a transversal. Okay, do you see that? All right. Now, in fact, it might even help. I don't know. Well, no, we can't do that. Never mind. But anyways, here's my transversal. Notice 6 is above the black line, 2 is above the black line, and they're both on the same side of the transversal. So when that happens, students, we call that corresponding angles. They're corresponding angles. All right, let's take a look now at number 20. Number 20. And number 20 would be angles 4 and 8. So again, I think it would behoove us or help us greatly to turn this thing. And here we go. Here's angles 4 and 8. So I've got a line here and a line here being cut by this transversal right here. Here's my two angles, 4 and 8. Okay? So they're both on the interior. 7 and 8 are on the interior. 4 and this other angle are on the interior. And they're both 4 and 8 are both on the right side of the transversal. So whenever two angles are on the inside, they're interior, and they're on the same side of the transversal, we call that same side interior angles, or consecutive interior angles. Whichever phrase you want to use is fine, but that would be the answer to number 20. Consecutive interior angles or same side interior angles. And then last but not least, number 21. Looks like 211. Number 21, and we're dealing with angles 4 and 7. 4 and 7. Well, again, when it's like that, I think it would help us to turn it a little bit. Maybe some of you like that, some of you don't. I don't know. But here's one line. Here's the other line being cut by a transversal. And we're dealing with this angle and this angle. Got a picture of it? All right, here we go then. All right. Notice 4 and 7 are between the two black lines, so they're on the interior. Notice they're on opposite sides of the transversal, so we call that alternate. So these two angles would be alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles. I really do hope that helps, guys. It's just memorization and practice. 22 says, in the bicycle shown below, what is the relationship between angles 7 and 8? Now, I went ahead and got rid of the bike. I guess I could have went ahead and drawn a, if I wanted to, drawn a tire here and a tire here and put a little seat here and put the handlebars coming off here and all that kind of stuff. But I just didn't want to do that. There's no need. I wanted to draw your attention away from the bike and just the angles, okay? So here's angles 7 and 8. And actually, yeah, that's right. Actually, it might again. If this is annoying to you, then just ignore this. Don't do it. Don't turn your book. But for some students, this might help. So if I turn it this way, like this, now it might help you see here's one line and another line being cut by a transversal. Do you see that? So angles 7 and 8 are both on the interior. They're both on the interior, and they're both on the same side of the transversal. So we call that same side interior angles or consecutive interior angles. Okay? And then last but not least, let's take a look, at numbers 23 through 28. Now, number 23 says angle BCA. I'm going to put a number in there. BCA, I'm going to put a number 1 right here, okay? And then DGJ. So D, and then G, and then J. So this is going to be really hard to do. And please don't think your teacher is stumped. I'm just trying to think of the best way to explain this. I don't think I will use numbers. I think I'll just highlight it. So here's this angle right here, that angle, and then D, G, J. We'll go ahead and put some numbers in here, I guess. So what we'd have, and I'm not sure if I can flip this or not, we would have an angle here, we'll call it angle 1, and an angle here, we'll call that angle 2, okay? So one thing's for sure, let's see here. I don't need this right here. I'm going to get rid of it for a second. That has nothing to do with the problem there. That might help you. This is going to be really hard to see. They're really trying to trick you now, which is nothing wrong with that. These are just really difficult, okay? Notice how 1 and 2 are both on this line right here. So we're going to call this our transversal. So there's your transversal, okay? Now that transversal is intersecting this line here and this line here. So there's your two lines being cut. I'm going to go and do my transversal in red. So there's your two lines being intersected by this transversal. Now, notice 1 is outside the blue line. Notice 2 is outside the blue line, and they're on different sides of the transversal. I don't think I'll give you one this hard in the test or quiz, but this is still good for you. So they're both on the outside of the blue lines. One's on the left side of the red transversal. One's on the right side of the one's on the right side of the red transversal. And so when that happens, in that case there, they would be alternate exterior angles. That's really hard to see. Please don't be discouraged. Alternate exterior angles for number 23. All right, let's take a look now at number 24. Now number 24 is dealing with angles D, G, J. So we're going to go ahead and put number 1 here, D, G, J, and then F, D, E. So F, D, E. We'll put an angle 2 right here. There's your two angles. Now, again, I don't think we really need that line there, so I'm going to get rid of it so there's no confusion. Just ignore it. Now watch carefully, guys. Here's 1 and 2, so they're on this line, so we're going to call our transversal is in red. Okay, there's our transversal. Now the two lines the transversal is intersecting would be this line here and this line here. Okay, so there's the blue lines, or the two lines being intersected. Red is your transversal. Notice this angle's above the blue line. Notice this angle's above the blue line, and they're both on the same side of the transversal. When that happens, we do call that corresponding angles. Okay, so the answer to 24 would be corresponding angles. Not easy. I'm not asking you to really be ready to teach the class or anything, but you got to just try this, work hard, and do the best you can. That's all I can say. Okay, do the best you can. All right, number 25 is FDE. So FDE, angle 1 right there, FDE. Do you see it? FDE. And then the other angle would be KHL. So KHL right there. So we're going to call that angle number 2. Now, the line that we're not going to need, I'm going to get rid of it to alleviate confusion. Oh, not all of them. That one right there. So I'm going to hit delete. Now, this, boy, it's nice to get one like this. This is pretty easy here. Here's our two blue lines that are being intersected right there. Here's our red line that's a transversal. So our red line's a transversal. Do you see that? And here's my two angles, 2 and 1. Notice that 1's above the blue line. It's on the exterior. Notice 2's below the blue line. It's an exterior angle. And notice they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Angle 1 is on the right. Angle 2 is on the left. So we call those two angles alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles. All right, that's number 25, alternate exterior angles. All right, let's take a look now at number 26. Now, if you'll look at number 26, it says we're dealing with angles D, G, J. So here's D, then G, and then J. So we're going to put a 1 there, just so we have it labeled. And then G, J, H. So I go to G, and then J, and then H. So that angle right there. And we're going to call that angle number 2. All right. Now in this situation, to alleviate confusion, I don't think we need this line here, so I'm just going to ignore it. And now the angles are always on your transversal. So here's angle 1 and 2. They're on this line here. So this red line is going to be my transversal. Okay. Now that red line is intersecting these two blue lines. Do you see it? So there's your two blue lines being intersected by the red transversal. Notice how 1 and 2 are in between the two blue lines, so they're called interior angles. Do you see that? 1 is below the blue line, 2 is above the blue line, and also they're on opposite sides of the transversal. 1 is on the right side and 2 is on the left side. So we have two angles that are on the inside, interior, and they're on the opposite side, so they're on alternate sides. So we call it those two angles alternate interior angles for number 26, alternate interior angles. All right, number 27, CG8. So I go to C to G and then down to 8. So this angle right here, and we're going to call that angle number 1. And then 27 says angle G, so hard to say, GJ8. So G down to J and then over to H. Okay, so that angle right there, and we're going to call that angle 2. Now, I don't think we're going to need this line here, and I did not mean to do that, so let's go like that and then hit it. Did not mean to do that, and let's delete it out of there. All right, now remember the two angles you're dealing with are always going to fall in the transversal. So angle 1 and 2 are both on this line here, so that's obviously going to be your transversal. And now the other two lines that are being intersected are these blue lines right here. So there we go. All right, so here's your transversal, here's your blue lines. Notice angle 1 is above the blue line, and notice angle 2 is above the blue line, so they're both above the blue lines, and notice they're both to the left side of the transversal. They're both to the left side. When that happens, we call that corresponding angles, okay? We call that corresponding angles. So number 27 would be corresponding angles. And then last but not least, and I'm sure you're thrilled, number 28, would be angles BCA. So B down to C over to A right there. We're going to call that angle number 1. And then CGH. So here's C, then G, and then down to H. So we're going to call that angle right there angle number 2. So I'm pretty sure we're not going to need this line here. So let's delete it out and get rid of it. Remember, your two angles are always going to fall on the transversal. So the angles are both on this line here, so we know that's our transversal. And then the two lines that are being intersected would be this line here and this line here. So you've got two blue lines being cut by a transversal. Notice that angle 1 is above the blue line. Notice angle 2 is above the blue line, and they're both to the left of the transversal. They're both on the same side of the transversal. When that happens, we call that corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. So number 28 would be corresponding angles. You have been thrown some really difficult problems in this homework assignment. Please don't get discouraged. Please keep working hard, and I hope this video was a help to you in understanding your homework.